Alright, what's going on, everybody? Back again today, bringing you guys another collection video, and this is going to be over my DC Comics collection. Once again, just like my Marvel collection, this is pretty much just all trade paperbacks and like collected editions. There's some hardcovers in here, but I don't really collect single issue comic books anymore. I'm going to be buying all of the DC Future State issues, but that's just so I can see what's going on with that. When it comes to like the actual comic books and the story arcs within the different series, I tend to just wait until the full story arc is published in trade paperback form and then buy that. So I've got these organized into a couple different piles. We've got like Watchmen's just kind of by itself. This is Earth 1. This is all Batman. This is big crossover events and or Justice League, Superman, Green Arrow, and then just an Aquaman comic. But we'll go through the first one, which is the biggest one. We'll get that out of the way, which is definitely Batman. Favorite comic book superhero character of all time. So I picked up Detective Comics 1000, which is kind of just like an anthology series of stories all just bundled together. Yeah, it was okay. Didn't love it, didn't hate it. And then I got the Joker's 80th anniversary, which is pretty much the same thing as Detective Comics 1000, just for the Joker. It wasn't his 1000th issue, but it was his 80th anniversary, so they did pretty much the same thing. Also got Batman Hush, which is actually what I think it's one of the more underrated Batman stories. I think it's pretty good, actually. And I actually like the animated movie they made of it, too. None of these are in any kind of chronological order, by the way. It's just a big pile. Batman New 52 Volume 3, Death of the Family. Really good story arc. Really good Joker story. Anyone wants a good Joker story? The Joker Endgame. This is another full collected edition. Endgame was a big event that was going on through all of the Batman titles at the time. They do have a just like Batman Endgame, like one of these, which contains much less of the story. This one, which is called the Joker Endgame, that contains like everything. Every single one of the Batman titles, comic book issues that tied into this event is all in here. So I got that. Batman Year One, which is probably the definitive Batman origin story. This was used as inspiration for a lot of the Nolan verse, Batman Begins, and a little bit of Dark Knight as well. And then we got the Batman and the Man Who Laughs, also another one. This is like the definitive story for Batman's first encounter with the Joker. Also, a little bit inspired the Batman Begins Dark Knight movie. We got Batman the Killing Joke. Used to be a very highly regarded comic book story, and it was also very critical and very important to read because it had a key moment in it where the Joker shoots Barbara Gordon through the spine and paralyzes her from the waist down, so no more Batgirl. But with the New 52 and onward, they've gone back on that, and she can walk again now, and she's back to being Batgirl, so it's kind of like this never happened, and yeah, they do kind of hint at it a little bit, but it's mostly like it didn't even happen. I really liked this, Batman the Dark Knight Master Race, which is the third installment in Frank Miller's Dark Knight series, where Batman is really old and he has a female Robin named Carrie Kelly. I really liked this story simply because they do something in the story that I think needs to be used in movies in the current DC film series. In this story, Bruce Wayne, he's pretty elderly at this point at the beginning of the story, but at some point in here he gets mortally wounded, like he's definitely going to die, and Superman takes him to a Lazarus pit, throws him in. He comes out back in his like youthful prime, and he's a little crazy at first, but he eventually kind of calms down. It's only this first time he's ever been thrown in the Lazarus pit, so it didn't have too damaging of an effect on him, and he wasn't completely dead when they threw him in, so it just kind of heals him up and brings him back to his like physical prime in his younger days. And yeah, so it kind of restores Bruce Wayne. I think that's a nice little story element they could use in the current DC film series with Ben Affleck having been the Batman originally, but we definitely need to switch to a younger actor who's going to play the role for years to come and have it make sense. So that'd be one way they could do it, and I think that would make the most sense. You know, he gets mortally injured and they throw him in the Lazarus pit, comes out younger. Of course, we've got Batman The Dark Knight Returns. Very overdone and played out. Like, it's not bad by any means. It's definitely a really good story, but there's just been so many different adaptions and so many different little tributes paid to it in other media that it's just kind of played out. The Dark Knight Returns, Last Crusade. I bought this because I thought this might make a nice, alternative to Death in the Family. I thought this was going to show the death of Jason Todd. No, it doesn't really. It shows Jason Todd being, like, kidnapped and taken captive by the Joker, but it doesn't really show the Joker kill him. And this is supposed to have been like a prequel to The Dark Knight Returns, so another Frank Miller series. All-Star Batman and Robin, Volume 1. Not bad. I definitely see why this title got canceled, though. Batman is very abusive towards Robin and not nice at all. And the Joker's nuts. Absolutely insane. And I really don't like the whole... It's the Green Lantern shows up in here, Hal Jordan, and his ring is like... It doesn't work on the color yellow. So, like, Batman and Robin are in a room where they've painted it themselves yellow so that Green Lantern can't mess with them. I think that's dumb. From Rebirth, I've got the first 3 volumes here. We got Batman, I Am Bane, Batman, I Am Suicide, and Batman, I Am Gotham. I liked this series, the Rebirth series, all the way up until it got really, like, romance heavy with, like, Batman getting married, and then she left him at the altar, and he was all like, boo hoo, I need to wear underwear on the outside of my clothes again because Catwoman left me. That was dumb. Probably the greatest thing to come out of the post-Flashpoint era, which is what we're still in. Batman, the whole Court of Owls storyline, which is like kind of like that Joker Endgame book I showed you earlier. This is Batman, Night of the Owls. This not only includes the Batman parts of it, but it's also got the Nightwing comics, the Red Hood and the Outlaws, the Batman and Robin. It's all of them, because this was another big event that went throughout the entire all of DC's Batman series that were coming out and being published. So that's a good read. It gets kicked off though and starts in this one, the very first New 52 volume of Batman, Court of Owls. Got Batman R.I.P. It's alright. Not the greatest. I wasn't a huge fan, but it's whatever. Batman and Son, introduction of Damian Wayne. Very first appearance of Damian Wayne. First time he ever puts on any kind of Robin costume too. Pretty good book. Got the Batman Nightfall trilogy. Him getting his back broken by Bane in Volume 1. John Paul Valley taking over as Batman in Volume 2, defeating Bane. And then Volume 3, Bruce comes back and takes the mantle of Batman back from John Paul Valley, who's kind of gone nuts. Not a bad read. Definitely long. And it's another one of those kind of like the Death of Superman things where they were like, they didn't kill Batman off, but they kind of like did away with the Bruce Wayne Batman for a while, just like with Superman and the Death of Superman, only to bring him back like at the end of the summer. Like this was like a summer event, so did not have a lasting impact much at all. And then probably my 2 favorite Batman stories that I own, which is Batman The Long Halloween, which is going to be getting an animated movie adaptation pretty soon. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a 2-parter. And then we've also got Dark Victory, which is the introduction of Dick Grayson as Robin. Definitely my 2 favorite Batman stories that I own. Alright, next biggest pile, we've got Forever Evil, which is the immediate follow-up sequel to Trinity War. Both pretty good reads. This was back in the New 52, was kind of at its height after Forever Evil. That's kind of where I thought it started to go downhill. Throne of Atlantis, very popular story to come out of the New 52. It was pretty much the inspiration for the Throne of Atlantis movie, animated movie, as well as the Aquaman movie. Volume 2 of Justice League from the New 52, Villain's Journey. It's an okay story. Starts to show that the Justice League, they have some problems with each other. Crisis on Infinite Earths. Super long read. super old school style of comics and artwork. Uh, was very hard for me to get through, but it's pretty essential if you're gonna be a DC fan. Like you got the terms pre-crisis and post-crisis are thrown around a lot. So if you're gonna get into DC, you kind of have to know what that is to a certain degree. JLA World Without Grown-Ups. This sets up the Young Justice team in the comics with Superboy, Tim Drake, Robin, and Impulse, which is I believe Bart Allen. JLA Earth 2, one of the more definitive crime syndicate stories. This also had a movie adaptation with Crisis on Two Earths, animated movie adaptation. JLA Divided We Fall, just another piece of Grant Morrison's JLA run from the 90s. I bought a lot of that just because I love the Justice League animated series and Justice League Unlimited animated series, and that's where a lot of that comes from. It was Grant Morrison's run on JLA. Not really Justice League or a major crossover event, but it definitely contains multiple superheroes. Like we got Superman, Batman, Public Enemies. There's a ton of superheroes and characters in there. And then Superman, Batman, the Supergirl from Krypton. We got Superman, Batman, Supergirl, Wonder Woman's in here, Darkseid. So yeah, it's I included that with the Justice League stuff. Infinite Crisis, which is a sort of spiritual sequel to Crisis on Infinite Earths. I loved this when I read it. I haven't read it in years, but I'm pretty sure I would still love it. It's pretty good. I remember it being pretty good. Blackest Night, really overrated and unnecessary. I mean, like, they did this and then they immediately followed it up with, like, Flashpoint and the New 52. So for the most part, it was like this didn't even happen. In the Green Lantern books that were coming out every month of the New 52, they acknowledged that this happened, but nothing else did. Flashpoint, awesome. This is kind of like the modern era's Crisis on Infinite Earths. You know, but Crisis on Infinite Earths came out in the 80s. This came out back in like 2011. So this is like our more modern Crisis on Infinite Earths that changed everything. Really good read. Darkseid War. It was really good, and I got kind of caught up in the artwork and everything, thinking it was awesome. But overall, I just kind of have a bad memory of this. It was a lot of to become a god, you must kill a god, and then you release the anti-god, and then the blah blah. It was just a bunch of really shitty story plot points thrown together that didn't really make a lot of sense, and you were just meant to kind of not care and go along with it. But I didn't really think it was that great. Convergence, a lot of people hated, but if you just kind of read it as a standalone story, it's not too bad, especially if you are familiar with the events of Earth 2 from the New 52. It's not bad. Batman Flash the Button, another good piece of the post-Rebirth DC universe. Definitely a necessity to read this in your lead up to Doomsday Clock. It even says the road to Doomsday Clock. Definitely need to give that a read before you read Doomsday Clock. Dark Knight's Metal. I really wanted to like this, and a part of me still really wants to, but the fact that the way they win at the end of this is they all get in a circle, hold each other's hands, and save the day with the magical power of friendship and believing in themselves. Like, that really killed it. Also, in this, they start trying to say that there's more than one multiverse, and that's dumb. Like, it's a multiverse already. Like, you don't get bigger than that. I could see there being a multiverse and a dark multiverse, and just that. But even that's a stretch. But after this happened, Dark Knight's Metal, they started trying to say that, like, there's infinite multiverses. There's multiple multiverses. And I'm like, nope, no there's not. That's dumb. DC Universe Rebirth, absolutely awesome. Definitely a nice piece of course correction that one of the few times DC's come out with, like, this is basically a blatant admission, like, yeah, we've been fucking up lately, but we're gonna try and fix it. Here's our promise to you. They ended up not going through with it. Who knew? Who would have thought? Justice League Origin from the New 52. Back when they still had us believing that the New 52 was gonna be the hard reboot and reset that we all wanted, but it ended up not being. This is probably the best Justice League origin story, because there's not many of them out there, and most of them are much older than this one, at least in comic book form, and they're just not good to... It's kind of like with the Crisis on Infinite Earths. It's like you're reading something so old and so dated at this point. this is probably the way to go. I got volume 1 of Secret Origins just because I saw it contained some origin stories for some characters that I really didn't know the origin story for, and I didn't know where to find the origin story, so thought I'd just get it from here. And then I have Alan Moore's collection of DC Universe stories, which is nice. We got Aquaman, The Trench, which is his New 52 Volume 1. Pretty good story. This is a big change up for Aquaman. They decided to make him cool, try to make him cool again, and they succeeded in my opinion. Green Arrow Year 1, real solid good origin story for Green Arrow. Unfortunately, the only other two Green Arrow thing, well no, I have 3 more. These two, the first 2 volumes, Volume 1 and Volume 2 from his New 52 line, trash, not very good. Longbow Hunters, this is probably the quintessential Green Arrow story. You'd want to read his origin, the Year 1, and then this is another must read for Green Arrow. Superman, we've got Death of Superman, of course. I bought this a long time ago just because I don't know, I just wanted to read. Even before I got into collecting toys and comic books and everything, I bought this just because I wanted to read it. I mean, it's not that great. It's just a giant slugfest between these two dudes. Supergirl, I included this in the Superman pile. This is Supergirl's Volume 1 from her New 52 series, her new origin story. Excuse me. I really liked this one because it actually separated her from Superman and took her out of his shadow. They definitely meet up in this. She crash lands to Earth, and they meet up, but her and him do not get along at first. It's not immediately oh, cousin, I found you. Great, let's, catch up. First of all, she doesn't really believe that he's her cousin because he's already grown up and he's an adult. Last time she saw him, he was a baby. And yeah, so pretty good origin story for Supergirl. Superman Reborn, something that I thought was super unnecessary, trying to mesh the New 52 continuity with the Rebirth continuity Superman. This guy, you should have just been yeah, this guy's fucking dead and this guy's alive, and we're moving forward based on that. But I get it. This is just lazy, though. It's if they didn't do this, they would have had to be okay, so Batman and Wonder Woman and the rest of the Justice League, they gotta all get used to this new Superman and get comfortable with him because they've all had experiences with this one, but now he's dead and this guy's taking his place, but they don't really know him. And rather than go through that whole story arc and all that, they just decided, nope, we're gonna do some weird quantum cosmic meshing of the two Supermans because realities and cosmic alternate reality shit, and yeah, it's easier that way. Lazy. And then Superman Hell on Earth, not a bad Superman event from the New 52. Kind of similar to a whole Zod thing. It's another Kryptonian dude. He's kind of scarred and deformed. He finds his way to Earth, realizes Kal-El and Supergirl are around. He kind of dupes Supergirl into following him, and then Superman has to take him down. Yada yada. Pardon me. And then in my Marvel collection video, I showed the the season 1 or the Origins line, which is kind of like Marvel's new line of books that are they're slightly revamped and retuned origin stories for the 21st century modern times of all their characters. Well, DC has the Earth 1 line, which is basically the same thing, except the origin stories tend to be man, I'm sorry. The origin stories tend to be much more drastically different, especially Green Lanterns. I have Teen Titans. Green Lantern's origin story is drastically different, and I actually really liked it. It has a more aliens, lone war. The Green Lantern Corps is not around, but there are multiple Green Lanterns, but the Green Lantern Corps is not around. So if that sounds interesting to you, I definitely recommend checking this out. This is a nice change of pace for Green Lantern. In the Superman series, I have Volume 1 and 2 of Batman and Volume 1 through 3 of Superman. In both of these, they decided to do something where, they took one of the character's main villains and changed them from being male to female. In Superman Earth 1 series, the Lex Luthor that is going to be his, long-running villain is actually a female, Alexandra Luthor. And then in Batman, Two-Face is not a dude. Two-Face is actually, it's not Harvey Dent, it's actually his sister, I forget her name, but Harvey Dent dies, and she burns half of her face, and yeah, now she is Two-Face. Unnecessary change, I thought. Also, this version of Batman kind of sucks. Like, he doesn't wear body armor. He's not super good at fighting. He's not a great detective yet. It's very just kind of thrown together Batman. He's not like the I traveled the world for 10 years straight and just mastered everything Batman. He actually kind of sucks. And Superman, though, probably the best of the three series is Superman. Or the best of all the series that I have is Superman. It's pretty good. I'm waiting for more to come out, but the Green Lantern one was the last one. That was like a year ago. And then, of course, I've got Watchmen. I bought this also years and years ago before I started really collecting comics and toys and everything. I just heard it was good. Back when Rebirth was announced with the whole Watchmen being introduced to the main DC universe, I went ahead and reread this. Still good. The movie's okay. But if you've never read the graphic novel, I definitely recommend it. And so yeah, that's my DC comic book collection. Let me know what you guys think. Leave some comments below. Give me some feedback. And other than that, I guess I will see you guys next time.